Are you frustrated with your recent promotion where you thought that after being promoted you would take on bigger responsibilities, maybe take on higher level strategic leadership activities, only to find that your day-to-day is in implementation? I am in Osaka right now, and welcome and greetings from Osaka. Recently, while I was here, I had a conversation with one of my clients who recently was promoted into a vice president position in the same company, in the same industry that he has been working in for the past decade. And after being promoted to VP, there was an expectation that he was going to lead his business functions. And after 6 months of being in his vice presidency and having the responsibility of these business functions, he found himself day to day in daily operations in terms of implementation, carrying out projects, coming down into tactical implementation, in managing his team, and day-to-day managing his teams and micromanaging in some ways. And there was a lot of disappointment around, well, if I was recently promoted and I'm an executive, then why am I having such difficulty leading my business function? And my day-to-day is being taken up so much with leading teams and managing process and people that I don't have the time or the bandwidth to do what I was hired to do, which was to lead this business function. If you find yourself in a similar situation, it is especially frustrating if you have recently promoted into executive level positions, director, VP, C-suite, and you also find yourself in tactical execution. Well, in this video, what I want to share with you are 3 key reasons why that happens and what you can do about it. The first reason why this happens is because there is a lack of delineation of the levels of value in the marketplace. You see, there are 4 levels of value in the marketplace. The first level of value is implementation. At the level of implementation, this is where if you are an implementer, you're hired to do something. You're hired to be in tactical implementation. And you are hired as an individual contributor, staff member, entry-level, technician, associate, analyst, all those different job titles. But at the implementation level, this is tactical. This is where your day-to-days are doing something, are checking off the boxes, performing tasks and activities at the individual contributor level. And the next level up from that, the second level of value in the marketplace, is unification. And unification is where you are managing. You're managing people, you're managing projects, processes, sometimes even policies. So this is promotion from one level of value into the next level of value. And from unification, some people get promoted into the next level of value, which is communication. And at communication, this is where you have fiscal responsibilities. You are a director. You are no longer managing as your primary function, but you are communicating as your primary function, which means that you are communicating with stakeholders, internal and external. You're communicating with boards of directors, with your executives above you as well, and your peers, same level peers. You're a director, you're a VP, you're a C-suite, and you are operating at the level of communication. You see, what happens, and the first reason why a lot of executives get caught up in the day-to-day is because there's a lack of delineation with this movement in the levels of value. In which case, when people are promoted into the communication level of value, they find themselves still in implementation, or they find themselves still in unification. And that's the first reason why directors and above can find themselves day-to-day caught up in tactical implementation when, after promotion, they got the title, even sometimes the pay as well. And there's an expectation that with this promotion, I'm going to be involved in higher level strategic decisions. There's an expectation that they're going to be involved in leadership, building business functions, having fiscal responsibility. But if there's a lack of delineation of these levels of value, that's where it's easy to find themselves day-to-day still at the level of tactical implementation. The second reason why this happens is because of the hiring process. You see, every organization, when a company begins, you have a startup. And in a startup, it's actually quite common for one person to take on many different roles and to do many different activities. But as the company grows, it's important that the people grow along with the company. And as the company grows, it's also important for teams to be developed and departments to be developed, and that there is a specific cadence of communication within every team, multiple teams as well, and every level of leadership beneath them. So as the company grows, you have multiple teams, and then you have departments, and then you have multiple departments, and then you start to build layers of leadership beneath every department. And as the company grows, it's really important to have the hiring process that aligns with the way departments are functioning and the way departments are organized. And what I've seen as a corporate trainer is oftentimes we have these big corporations where the leaders at the top start to become overwhelmed in their roles because the company is growing, because they're taking on new projects, because they are handling fiscal responsibilities, because they are addressing challenges that put financial pressures on the company, and they are overwhelmed at the top. So what happens is that the leader starts to hire people and delegate activities to them, but after hiring and delegating, the leaders still stay doing the same thing. And then eventually the company grows again, they feel overwhelmed, and the same thing, rinse and repeat. They hire and they delegate those activities, and they still stay in the same position though. After delegating, they stay in the same position. And what happens is that you have these leaders at the top who have stayed in the same role even after they've delegated the activities they were overwhelmed with, and they stay in the same position, so they haven't grown with the company, and they sometimes get promoted into executive level positions or higher level executive positions, but generally they're doing the same role. And as a result of that, the layers of leadership that got created beneath them, they are taking up more of the tactical implementation. And with this type of hiring process, there is a lack of delineation about what the role is. And going to the first reason as well, there is a lack of delineation of the 4 levels of value. And so what ends up happening is that you have this leadership at the top who's been doing the same role, but they might have been getting promoted by pay and by title as well, but they're doing the same role. And so the people at the bottom looking up at the people at the top, the perception is that the leadership, they're not doing anything. They're not doing anything strategic. They're not in the visionary positions, but they're getting paid that way, and they seem to be getting the titles that way, and there's a lot of confusion. There can be a lot of confusion as well. So this is the second reason why that happens, is simply because of the hiring process of the company. The third reason why that happens is a concept known as pigeonholing. You might have heard this before, or maybe you felt it before, being pigeonholed as a technical expert or being pigeonholed as an individual contributor. And a lot of times when I see this when I do my corporate training, I see people being pigeonholed because they've been so good at what they do. And as a result of being so good at what they do, their skill set, and it could be a tactical skill set, becomes valuable in the corporation. And there hasn't been a way for them to be able to delegate that onto somebody else, and therefore to move up into higher level strategic position. And there hasn't been any communication cadence to be able to advocate for oneself, to be able to build processes to hand that over. And as a result of that, the onus is on that individual who's been promoted to executive positions to still carry on the tactical implementation. And as a result of that, it is pigeonholing. So these are the 3 reasons why I see that can happen. An executive being promoted into a position of executive level position, and still their day-to-day is very involved in the tactical activities. If you're listening to this and one of these 3 reasons, or maybe more than one of these 3 reasons resonate with you, then I invite you to work with me. In my mentorship, I talk about how do we move to higher level strategy, because if you are growing in your career path and your company is growing, it's important that you grow with your company as well. If you don't grow with your company and you stay in the same position even after you get promoted, you might find yourself pigeonholed. You might find yourself in day-to-day still in tactical implementations and not having the time or the bandwidth or the opportunity to take on bigger responsibilities. And if that's you, I'm going to help you. Every single week there's going to be high-level training on how to build out those processes, how to have the right type of communication, how to advocate for yourself as well, and how to build that protection and support around you so that you can continuously move yourself from tactical all the way to higher level strategy. And I'm going to give you the strategy, the systems, and the communication skills as well, and the tools on how to build that protection and support. If you are serious and not curious about building that for yourself so that you can finally have the promotion that you're looking for, not just in title, but also in the way that you have opportunities. If that is what you are serious about in your career growth, then click the link below and apply to speak to one of my career advisors to see whether or not this is the right fit for you. And I look forward, if it is, then I look forward to seeing you on the inside.